back to my channel. My name is Kim. I am a plant mom, and today we are just gonna do a classic repotting video. I am gonna repot my Hoya insularis, and we are just gonna, as usual, chit chat a little bit while repotting it and talk a little bit about my gardening plans for the year. I have lately been very invested into my garden, doing the seedlings and everything, and we had some difficulties, and a lot of things has going on, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about it with you guys and repot some plants. It's always very therapeutic and just something I like to do overall anytime I have the opportunity to do it, because it's always a little bit brushy and I do not always have the time to repot something. So yeah, let's do that today. So the thing about this insularis is that I bought it like 3 weeks ago, maybe a month, and from an Etsy sellers as usual, and it was actually a French seller this time, so I'm very happy I found somebody local to buy something from, and it was actually coming with another plant, which I'm gonna show you a little bit later, just as a little surprise at the end of the video. But I was actually buying 2 plants, and when I bought it, the seller actually told me that the plant that I choose from the website was not doing great or something like that, so he gave me another plant. He actually asked me if I wanted a bigger or a small plant, and I said a smaller because I do not have that much space, and I like to grow things out, so it could be also really great to have a little bit smaller plant. So this is the Ripsalis Hoya, no, not the Ripsalis, the Hoya insularis that I bought. It has great matured leaf. This one is very long. It's actually very impressive, and the newer one are a little bit smaller, and it's still acclimating to my house and luminosity, humidity, everything, the lights, everything. But I figured that new soil would be better than this because it's just that it came with that, and we can already see inside of it that it has a nice root ball, but it is not enough soil for it to grow and do something great. So we are gonna repot it today and talk a little bit about my gardening plans for 2026. If you do follow what I do on my garden every year, you know by now that I have a lot of challenges in that garden, because first, it is very small, and also there is not a nice I don't have the perfect spot for growing things out, but the spots in my garden are not that great. There is not a really nice spot to grow things out in my garden. I have one side that is very humid and a lot of shadows and everything, and another side that is way too bright and way too open into the brightness and the dryness of the air. So I'm always challenged whenever I work into my garden with all of that, and with the fact that it's small and I cannot do a lot of things. So with this challenge, I actually have been trying out trying to grow some things over the past 2 or 3 years now. It has been like 3 years this month that I actually am in this apartment with this garden. So I have been growing things out for the past 3 years here, and I have been successful with a few things, but it's always a challenge. Either it is too dry or too exposed to the sun, or either not enough pollinating insects, or flying insects, which was the big thing last year, because I had a lot of nice tomato plants with a lot of flowers, but not enough pollinating insects to do the thing, pollinating plants and flowers. So I didn't have any tomatoes, like just one at the end of the year. So it was a big problem, that's actually very, I don't know, stressful, maybe worrying would be the term, when you grow something and there is not enough insects to do the the natural thing of pollinating flowers. So since I don't know how to pollinate flowers on my own, this year I thought about growing out flowers which would bring a few more insects in the garden, and which would increase the chance for me to have actual fruits and vegetables. So yeah, it has been like a nice solution for me, and this year I'm trying this thing out, but we are facing another problem. Before I tell you the problem, I'm actually very annoyed right now with this fruit bowl. This is a sphagnum moss bowl. Yeah, maybe you can see the roots. It is nice, it is in good shape, but this sphagnum moss bowl is very annoying. I will not be able to detangle it. Yeah, I'm gonna put this in a water bowl and let the sphagnum moss dissolve and detangle on its own, and while I do that, I'm gonna work on the substrate. So I'm just gonna put it into the water and let it dissolve, and hopefully it's gonna detangle on its own without me trying to detangle the impossible moss bowl. I'm always working with a base, either like basic soil or orchid soil, and I'm adding a little bit of perlite. I'm gonna put a glove on my right hand because I have a, I got hurt yesterday doing the dishes, and we're gonna mix with our hands this substrate. Hoyas really like humidity in their roots, and I saw it with my Matilda Splash. I also saw it with my Nova Ghosts, and that's something that I was avoiding before, because I thought that Hoyas with their really fine roots would not be able to work with that much humidity in the roots. But surprised, they really like humidity, and to have a bed of water, they really like that. So since they do not grow really big root balls, at least mine, I like to have them into smaller pots, but with a lot of humidity. Like that's why I like orchid mix, because you have a lot of drainage, but also you know, cocoa and all of the good things that adds the water retention of the soil. So yeah, for the garden I have been working with something else actually that has been a challenge of mine for the past 2 months now, and that is the snails. Snails are eating out my seedlings and I cannot prevent it. So it is really annoying. I have been doing my yearly seedlings 2 times now, even 3 times for some of my aromatics, and it is very annoying. Actually right now I feel like I'm breaking things, so I don't want to lose this fruit bowl because it is in great shape, and honestly I think this is not ideal. I don't know how to detangle this fruit bowl. It does not want to come out. I'm gonna break it. I don't know. So yeah, I will say that snails are ruining my chances of getting a nice garden this year. I will put some pictures of everything I tried to, you know, all the seedlings I tried to do in the last 2 months, so you can see that I have been working. But yeah, the snails ate everything in the span of, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and I was like working like a dog to remove the snails, everything, putting salt, all the, you know, granny hacks, and it did not work. The middle of the actual sphagnum moss ball, it is like really dense and there is no actual roots inside of the ball. The roots are kind of, you know, following the outsides. That's why I think I'm gonna try to, you know, detangle it, even if I break some of the roots, because I really don't like this situation for the plants. I don't know why they put it so tight on the roots. So for the garden, I have been working great with it for, I don't know, maybe 3 days. So I'm not gonna say that I'm over with the snails, but they have not been able to eat everything out for the past 2 days because it has been a little bit sunny outside, and you know, the dryness had, you know, prevent the snails from coming. But my, you know, plants were considerably impacted with all of that. That's why maybe this year maybe I'm gonna do like some videos about my garden, but it's not gonna be, I don't think that's gonna be as, you know, rich as the past 2 years, because I do not have as much things growing out. The garden is actually a mess right now, but one thing that worked really good is my implementation of flowers though, because I worked on it since last year. So I have like some roses. I also planted two more roses in a pot, and I have also nice flowers growing out. So I think I will have this year a little bit more insects, which is gonna be good for anything that is gonna grow out of these poor seedlings, you know, if they survive the snails. So I'm still, you know, I'm still praying that it's gonna work. At least some of it is gonna work. In France, the weather is gonna get a little bit better. We are gonna have a little bit more sun in the next weeks and days, so I guess it's also gonna be good for anything that I want to grow out in the garden. But yeah, it's kind of difficult to work with it. There is still a lot of sphagnum moss in this bowl, but it's too much untangled with the roots, and I'm gonna break more roots. So I think this is enough, but the problem is that the pot that I was supposed to use may be too small. So I have to reduce the sphagnum moss a little bit more if I want it to fit, because I know there isn't that much roots and that a bigger pot would be unnecessary for this little root ball. It's just that the root ball is actually really tangled with some sphagnum moss and that I can't detangle it. So we're gonna work with that, I think. I was thinking about, you know, putting the insularis into this tiny pot because it doesn't need much. At this point, the root ball is not that big, and I would prefer it to be a little bit bigger and a little bit growing into the orchid, you know, mix. And maybe after summer, I will repot it into a bigger pot. You know, a tiny bed of soil. And I'm really gonna push it tightly because the actual roots are very tiny, as you saw. Just gonna push it gently with a little bit of fiber on top. And yeah, I think that's nice. I'm sorry because the the light is a mess, but it's very pretty like that. And I don't know if you can see, but I have a here, if you can see it, I have a little growth points. I think it's gonna grow another vine from here. That's my supposition. Yeah, so we are done with this insularis, and I really hope that it's gonna acclimate well because I really love hoyas. I actually did a video about hoyas a few months from now, and you know, they are kind of surprising in a way. And also they can grow really big, which I really like, because some plants, you know, the vines plants, some of them are, you know, you can get overwhelmed easy with the, you know, you have to detangle string of hearts, things like that. You have to detangle every vine. That is exhausting. So hoyas, which are also a type of plants that you have to detangle things out, it is a little bit easier because the leaves are rubbery and, you know, the vines are a little bit thicker. So it's a nice bushy plant when you can grow it big. That is easier to take care of than other plants with vines and things like that. So that's why I really like hoyas. And now I'm gonna, you know, as a little surprise, I'm gonna show you the other plants that I actually bought with the Hoya insularis. The other plant that I bought, it is a Platycerium ridley. I'm still good with it. It is a Platycerium ridley, which I'm very, very proud of, because as you know, if you watched my videos, I have been talking about Platyceriums for a long time now, and it is one of my favorite plants, just because it is very mystical. You can play with it. You can also put it on your actual wall in pieces of woods, which is very, very sexy and design, and I really love it. And I actually had a plain Platycerium bifurcatum before, but it died in a mysterious way. So since, you know, I was grieving on that and I really was craving another Platycerium, it's dropping water, yeah. I was craving another Platycerium, and this is also one that I actually purchased a little bit bigger, but the seller gave me a smaller one because, you know, it was having a little bit problems with the plants. And I'm actually happier that it's smaller because you can actually watch it grow from the beginning, and this is really cool. So my plan with this ridley is that this summer, if it grows nicely, I will try to put it on a piece of wood and put it on my wall. That is my dream, actually, with any type of plant. I will try also to do that with my orchid. I'm really into orchids lately. I don't know if it's because I have been, you know, playing with flowers in my garden, and I have been into, you know, flower ideas in my garden, but me focusing on flowers to increase the pollinating insects in my garden is pushing me into this flower thing inside my home too. And I think that orchid flowers, I always loved orchid, but I only own one, are kind of my new, not new because I was also obsessed with orchids when I was younger, but it's the renewing of my obsession with orchid flowers. And I'm really into buying more orchids, yeah, so that's the plan. I don't know, and also I think orchids are the sustainable queens, I think, and I also think orchids can be second-handed really well, because a lot of people are gifted orchids and often want to give it to people because they don't know how to take care of it, but that's another subject. But yeah, I think all of the orchids that I owned at some point, I was having like maybe 6 or 7 orchids at a time. All of the orchid that I owned, actually, that was people giving me their orchids because they didn't know how to take care of it. So I'm praying of more people giving me orchids. I think that's a thing that needs to, you know, come back again. Yeah, luminosity is back on being normal. I don't know what happened. My insularis, just to show you the plant in a nice normal light so you can understand what's going on, because I don't think you saw anything when I was doing the repot. But yeah, here is where I think another vine is coming. So I think that's it for the video. I do not have anything else to talk about, but if you are interested into my gardening journey, I will do some videos about it, because right now I do have some seedlings that are still surviving, and at the end of May I am gonna put it in the bigger planters, so that's gonna be a lot of work, and I think I will record that yeah, I have a lot of plans for the garden. And yeah, tell me if something, you know, interests you a little bit more. And also my latest video, I was talking about interior design featuring houseplants. I also want to do more of that, so tell me if you are interested in it. I really enjoyed, even if it was, as usual, kind of a mess repotting these plants on video. I had a great time overall. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!